believe that if you do raw foods diet properly, you could probably eat all raw if you wanted to. Make sure you get regular blood tests and check your health. And I do all these different kinds of tests to make sure all my blood markers and all this stuff is healthy and in range. And for the most part, they have been.
John Kohler said that his blood work has come out really well, and he's made many videos of that over the year, that his blood work has, over the years, that his blood work has come out really well. So to think that he's going to add cooked food in order to get better blood work doesn't really hold water or make sense, because what would better blood work mean? Higher values? If the idea of more nutrient density was higher concentrations of nutrients intake, then we'd end up with higher values than what his current values are, and his current values are good. Higher values would be malnutrition. You've got too much of this or too much of that. How do we assess whether or not we need to add another food group, type of food, cooked food versus raw food? How do we assess when what we're doing is working or not working, if we want to use working as the expression? And this is a question that's come up to me in the last 40 years. This isn't the first time the question has come up. Okay, people come to me all the time and they go, I'm going to take my blood work before and after so that I can see whether or not the fast worked. I can see whether or not the diet change worked. I can see whether or not including blueberries or not including blueberries makes a difference in my blood work. And I want to see, and I'm going, blood work doesn't change all that much, all that rapidly. We've got reserves to prevent things from changing too fast. We've got set parameters and buffers in order to keep things in the right range. I mean, I don't care what you eat. Your blood calcium level is going to be 9 to 11, and it's not going to change. It's just, you could eat nothing but calcium tablets. It's not going to change, because there's various protocols within the body that keep your temperature at 98.6 or keep your blood pressure within certain ranges, and things have to go really amiss before you're going to start showing huge changes. Yes, you can become ill eventually over time, but measuring your zinc levels to see what happened, or keep doing a standardized blood test to see what happens, or the month on raw, is not going to tell you anywhere near as much as you think it is. It may tell you absolutely nothing. It may even give you negative results, because a month just simply isn't enough time for your body to do the house cleaning that it needs to do. And so you might end up seeing more debris being processed and come up with the idea that that was a bad thing, because there's so much debris in my blood after a month of raw. So, and it's just not, it's not the way anybody assesses what's going on in a real world situation. This is a medical model. And again, the inundation, the total immersion that's happened to us to accept the medical model as our standard of care. What happened to, I don't feel good, I think I better go see a doctor? Nobody goes, hey, my blood work's coming out really badly this time around, so I need to go see a doctor. People go, I don't feel good, I need to go see a doctor. Athletes go, my performance is tailing off, something is wrong. When people have come to me and said, hey, I want to be able to test before and after so that I can demonstrate the validity or non-validity of the diet change I made, or the lifestyle change I made, or the number of hours I sleep change that I made, or whatever it might be, that they did, I always tell them the same thing. Let's see what happens with your usual fitness program. And if in your usual fitness program you go, most of the time I can do 9 pull-ups, sometimes 8, sometimes 10. Or most of the time I can run 35 minutes for 5 miles. I can go out and run 5 miles in 35 minutes. Oh, sometimes I can go just under 35. Sometimes it creeps up to almost 36. But I'm always right in that range. Or whatever it might be, whatever your things are. You know, my first serve percentage is da da da. I don't really care. What is it that you usually do? And then do a month of raw and then reassess and tell me that you don't see dramatic improvement in your fitness performance or your reading speed or your piano playing or your first serve percentage or your recall, your vocabulary, your ability to learn new things. Your fitness performance is the easiest one of all. Oh, you know, I was doing like 7-minute miles. I could run 5 7-minute miles, and I did a month of raw, and now I can run 5 6:30 miles. And a 6:30 mile is a massive improvement over a 7-minute mile. And where did that come from? It didn't come from, I didn't change my training. This was a standard thing. It just, all of a sudden I was unleashed. Or I could only get out 10 or 12 push-ups, and then a month of doing raw, and now I'm doing 25 push-ups. What happened? What got released? And we can see it, whereas in blood work, we're not going to see much. And I question John's reasoning to want to use blood work as his parameter, because really, how, I mean, the question I ask every client, how do you feel? Because I don't know how they feel. Only they can tell me how they feel. I can't measure that. I have no parameters to be able to tell. How do you feel? And if we can't trust how do we feel, and we need to be tested in order to know if we're okay, we've bought into a scam. We've bought into a plan. We've bought into, can you imagine a disease so ravaging, so deadly, that you have to be tested to know whether or not you have it? What a concept. And people buy into that. Oh yeah, I need to be tested twice a week to know whether or not I have it. No, how do you feel? If you feel fine, you are fine. Yes, there's the silent killer of high blood pressure. But it only comes from a lifetime of taking really bad care of yourself. It doesn't sneak up on you. If you're eating well and living well, you don't end up suddenly with high blood pressure. It's when you compromise the elasticity of your vessels to the point where the pressure can only go up rather than the vessels expanding. So they'll call it the silent killer, and it sneaks up on you. But even then, there's tests. If all you have to do is look into somebody's eyes, and you can tell whether they got high blood pressure or not. We don't need to do any kind of medical examination. So, but for all other things, how do you feel? That tells you enough. Are there some crazy, is it possible that there's 1 in a million exceptions to that rule? Yeah, it's possible, because nature doesn't create boxes. Nature creates continuums that go on in every direction, and duck-billed platypus. I mean, it's possible. But 99 times out of 100, 999, if you give me 1,000 people, I'm going to ask them how do they feel, and I'm going to ask them, you know, how has your running changed, or how has your cycling changed, or how has your swimming changed, or how has your flexibility changed, or how has your strength training changed, or how's your ability to recover changed, or how does, you know, do you get through your day with more effort, less effort, the same effort than you did before the month of raw experiment that you just performed. And I think that is a far more valid way of telling how am I doing than, oh, my blood work says my blood calcium is on the high side of normal. Oh, my blood calcium came out on the low side of normal. Well, it just doesn't go outside of normal. I mean, why we even test blood calcium is kind of a funny thing. Why? Because blood calcium outside of normal is almost unknown. Almost unknown, as are a tremendous number of other parameters. Outside of normal is almost unknown because your body keeps it at the normal level and compromises in other ways. Sure, you start losing calcium out of your bones to compromise for the problem, to make sure that blood calcium doesn't change, but we don't measure blood calcium in order to tell. You do bone density testing in order to tell, which we don't have to do. All we have to do is ask somebody what do they eat and what are their activities, and you can predict what their bone density is going to be. It'd be help to know their age too. So I'm not going to say more on that, but that's a start.